She saved a helpless lion cub from a crocodile, risking everything to do the right thing. But when the lion's eyes locked on her past, what happened next stunned even the most hardened rangers. Let me start with this. I wasn't out there to play Jane Goodall in the wild. I didn't come to Africa to find myself, adopt a baby elephant, or win some self-righteous award. I came with a camera, a worn-out pair of boots, and a suitcase full of mistakes. The truth? I was running. Not from anyone, but from who I used to be. But that morning, with the heat crawling down my back and a bag full of dead camera batteries, I wasn't thinking about any of that. I was just chasing a shot. The sun was barely up, but the flies already had opinions. I'd hiked out past the designated trail. No signs, no maps, just intuition and a mildly concerning sense of direction. You could smell the dust baking on the rocks, hear the buzz of insects that clearly didn't respect personal space, and then I heard it. At first I thought it was a bird, that high, stuttering cry, broken like a rusty zipper. But then it came again, and this time it was sharper, realer. It didn't belong in the air. It belonged in a nightmare. I followed the sound down a narrow slope, boots sliding in the dry red soil, camera swinging against my ribs. Then I saw him, a lion cub, alone. He couldn't have been more than a few weeks old, ribs showing, paws clumsy, still soft in the face. He was perched on the muddy edge of what used to be a riverbed, one paw slipping into the green water like a toddler reaching for a stove. Now listen, I know the rules. You don't interfere with wildlife. You let nature do what it does, circle of life and all that poetic nonsense. But there was something off. The water moved. Not fast, not loud, just enough to make the surface dimple like a shiver. I knew that movement. I'd seen it in documentaries, in slow motion. I didn't need a narrator to tell me what was coming. There was a crocodile. I didn't think. I dropped my bag, yanked the flare from my side pouch, old military-grade smoke, don't ask how I got it, and yanked the ring. Orange smoke exploded around me like judgment. I sprinted. And let me be clear. I'm not some Olympic runner. I tripped halfway across the bank, sliced my knee on a rock that looked suspiciously smug about it. I grabbed the cub by the scruff, and he yowled like I was pulling him from heaven. His claws latched onto my shirt, then my skin. Cute kid, razor hands. I turned to run, and that's when I saw the croc's snout break the surface. If I had been a second slower, if I had hesitated, this story would have ended there, just another Nature Happens blurb on some safari blog. But somehow, through sheer adrenaline and the kind of panic that turns your legs into springs, I made it. I collapsed behind a rock, both of us panting. The cub trembled in my lap like a washing machine with bad wiring. His eyes, huge and amber, stared up at me like I was both terrifying and sacred. And then I felt it. A presence. Not like a ghost or a camera drone. No, this was heavier. Primal. I looked up. There, standing about 20 feet away, just beyond the shade of an acacia tree, was a lion. A full-grown, scar-covered, death-on-4-paws lion. He didn't growl, didn't charge, just stood there, watching. Now, I'm not a spiritual person. I've seen enough bad things done by good people and worse things ignored by everyone else. But there was something about that look. It wasn't just suspicion. It wasn't hunger. It was something closer to recognition. He saw me. And I don't mean saw me like noticed a human. I mean he looked right through me. Past the clothes, past the camera, straight into the quiet, rotting truth I kept buried under 1,000 good intentions. And let me tell you, nothing, absolutely nothing, will humble you faster than being silently judged by a lion. He didn't move, didn't blink, just stared. And I realized this wasn't over, not by a long shot, because whatever that lion saw in me, it wasn't what I wanted anyone, human or animal, to find out. What happened next changed everything. You don't want to miss how it all unfolded. You'd think saving a lion cub from a crocodile would buy you some goodwill out here, right? Maybe a thank you from the universe? A standing ovation from Mother Nature herself? Yeah. Number. The next morning, I woke up in a puddle of my own second-guessing. My knee was bruised, my shirt looked like it had survived a blender, and that lion cub, the one I practically body-snatched from the jaws of death, was curled up at my side like we'd been best friends since kindergarten. I called him Kabari. It means courage, mostly because I didn't have any, and I figured one of us should. I had one working camera battery, half a protein bar, and a deep growing itch in the back of my brain that told me something was seriously off around here. See, here's the thing no one tells you about the bush. It's not just lions and antelopes, it's people. People with agendas, people with guns. And sometimes those people wear uniforms. I'd heard whispers for weeks that the protected zones weren't so protected, that poachers weren't just sneaking in under moonlight but walking through the front door in broad daylight, smiling for selfies while they gutted whatever moved. So I went looking. Not for drama, for truth. Big difference. I followed a path that wasn't on any map, just sand, broken branches, and the kind of silence that makes your teeth itch. And then I saw it. A clearing. A circle of blackened ash and bones, burned crates, torn plastic, syringes, and in the middle of it all, a boot, just one, still laced, still fresh. This wasn't old. This was happening now. I filmed everything, hands shaking, heart pounding like it was trying to break out of my ribs. And then I heard a branch snap. I turned, and there he was, Colonel Oduma. He wasn't wearing a badge, but he didn't need one. He was one of those men who carried authority like a scent, thick, stale, and impossible to ignore. "I hope you're not lost," he said. His voice had that smooth, slow tone men use when they're deciding whether to talk to you or take something from you. "I'm not," I said, raising my camera. "But you might be." He didn't flinch. Just stepped forward, slow like a predator that knows you've already backed into the trap. "You know the rules," he said. "No filming in restricted zones." "Is that what this is?" I looked around at the burnt earth. "A restricted zone?" He smiled. "Not kindly. This land is under my jurisdiction, which means anything you film here belongs to me." There it was. No need for pretense, no camouflage, just raw, shameless control. I stuffed the memory card into my sock the second he looked away. I wasn't going to let that footage vanish into a drawer somewhere. He stepped closer. "Be careful out here, Miss Miller. Some animals don't care who you are, they just bite." Translation: leave, or next time, no one finds you. I walked away without a word. Not because I was scared, but because I knew I was outnumbered. Back at my camp, Kabari was gone. Panic doesn't announce itself politely. It kicks the door in and throws your chest against your spine. I ran through the bush like a madwoman, calling out for a lion cub who didn't know his own name. And then I saw them. The lion. The lionesses. 4 of them standing in a semicircle. And right in the middle, Kabari, alive, quiet, looking up at them like he'd just remembered where he belonged. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. The big lion stepped forward. Same one from yesterday. The one with the stare that made you want to confess things you hadn't even done. He looked at me. But this time, it wasn't judgment. It was calculation. Like he was trying to decide what kind of creature I was. Predator? Prey? Problem? And just when I thought they'd all vanish back into the wild, Kabari trotted back to me, looked up like, "Well, aren't you coming?" That's when I understood. I wasn't being tolerated. I was being tested, and the test wasn't over. This is the climax. Everything you've been waiting for, it's right here. Stay with me to see how the lion put everyone in their place. Let me tell you something they don't print in brochures. The wild doesn't care what kind of person you say you are. Out there, your history walks ahead of you. You don't need to explain yourself because something's already watching. That morning, the air was different. Still, not calm, waiting. Even the wind held its breath. Kabari sat at the edge of my camp like he owned the place, tail twitching, ears high. You'd think he was posing for a portrait, but I could tell he was listening. And when he heard it, I heard it too. A shout, then another. Human voices cracking like glass. I grabbed my camera and bolted. Across the bush, near the same river where this whole story started, I saw two men. Locals, young, panicked. One of them was knee-deep in the water, slipping, shouting, and beside him, screaming like his lungs were trying to escape, was a child, maybe 10 years old. The boy had fallen into the river, and guess what? So had the crocodile. It was circling, not fast, not flashy, but you could see the angle. It had done this before. It was waiting for a clean shot. One of the men tried to step in, slipped, hit a rock hard. He wasn't getting up anytime soon. I didn't think. I dropped the bag, kicked off my boots, and sprinted, again. But I wasn't the first one there. The lion beat me to it. He didn't roar. He didn't flex. He just moved. A flash of muscle and force. No drama, like he was swatting a fly. He stepped between the croc and the boy, stared the reptile down like he was done with second chances. And just like that, the croc sank. Gone. The boy scrambled to shore. I got to him, pulled him in, checked for wounds. His hands were shaking so bad I thought they'd fall off. But he was safe. And the lion? He didn't leave. He turned, faced me. And here's the part I didn't see coming. I raised my camera, not to film him, but to check my own footage from earlier. My finger hit the button by accident. It started playing. And that's when I saw it. I saw what he saw. Me. From behind. In the footage, there's a brief moment, right after I pull Kabari from the river, when my shirt rides up. Just a second. But enough. There it was. The tattoo. Faded. Almost gone. But still there. A symbol. The crest of an old conservation group I worked for years ago. A group that got exposed for laundering money through animal rescue operations while funding security for private game reserves. Reserves where lions mysteriously disappeared. I never knew, at least not at first, but I stayed too long enough to be part of it. Even if I never touched a rifle, never laid a hand on a creature. I quit, left, tried to do something real. This trip was supposed to be my way of making it right. But the lion saw the ink. And here's the part that breaks me. He didn't flinch. He didn't attack. He just looked at me the way people do when they know your whole story and choose not to hate you for it. He turned his back and walked away. Kabari followed. I stood there in the dust, camera in one hand, the boy in the other, and felt something shift. Not redemption. Not yet. But direction. Because sometimes the wild doesn't punish you. Sometimes it lets you carry the weight and dares you to do something better with it. I came here chasing lions. Instead, I found my own shadow staring back at me. And the only thing more terrifying than being seen is being forgiven.